Alright, g'day. The working memory model. In this video I'm going to summarize this model, which on the surface seems really complicated, but actually when you get to understand it, it's pretty basic. So I'm going to give a quick summary of Bailey and Hitch's working memory model in this video. So the first question we have to answer when looking at the working memory model is, what is working memory model? What is this model trying to explain? I think this is where a lot of people get turned off from the model and they find it too hard to comprehend, is because they don't take the time to fully understand the concept of working memory to begin with. So we're going to start there, and then hopefully you'll be able to comprehend the model and use it to explain short-term memory, because that's really what it is a model of, right? What's happening in our short-term memory. So definition of working memory: the small amount of information that can be held in the mind and used in the execution of cognitive tasks. That's an important definition to remember, but what does that mean? Let's put it a little bit more simply. It's the information we hold in our conscious attention. We can hold it, we can manipulate it, we can think about it. It's what we're consciously processing or thinking about at any one time. It's thinking. That's what working memory is. It's the stuff that you have in the forefront of your mind at any one time. And again, this still might seem abstract, so let me give you some examples. All right, so let's break down some everyday examples, and this is going to help you comprehend the idea of working memory. Problem solving. Okay, now close your eyes and trust me on this one. This is going to help you understand working memory if you don't quite get it. Close your eyes. Take the number 5. Double it. Double it again. Add 10 minus 4. What'd you get? 26? I hope you got 26. That's what I got. And as you that's an example of working memory right there. When you're having to do mental mathematical sums like that, you're taking the information, right? I gave you 5, did I? And then you doubled it, 10, and you're having to manipulate it. You're having to add things to it, to divide, subtract. That's working memory. That you have that information in your conscious attention. You're consciously, actively thinking about it to solve that problem. So anytime that you're in your next math class and you're trying to think through a problem and you're doing mental arithmetic, just think, I'm using my working memory. That's one example. Okay, another example. Close your eyes, trust me, right? Stand outside where you live, look back on the building where you live, right? So look back on the dwelling, if it's a house, an apartment building, wherever it is, right? Now, begin your journey to school. Right, so just, do you go on a bus stop? Do you ride a bike? Are you in the car? Are you walking? Just start going on that journey. Right, 10 seconds. Hold it there. Right, keep on the journey. Right, now hopefully you could see that in your mind. That's another example of working memory. That's visual working memory, or visual spatial working memory. We can see things. We don't have to actually be near them, and we can close our eyes. We can picture someone in our family. We can picture a fruit. I can see the Mona Lisa right now. I'm seeing the Mona Lisa. That's amazing. That's working memory. So when we can not only hold abstract concepts in our mind, but also actual visual things as well. All right. I want you to think of a song that you really like, and that's got a music video that you quite enjoy too. So think of your favorite song at the moment that you know the music video to. Now, just listen to the words. Get that song stuck in your head. That's working memory, right? You can hear that in your mind. You're holding that information in your conscious attention without, but by processing it, right? Now, it's not your voice. You can actually hear the singer's voice in there, I imagine. Now play the music video. You might have to close your eyes for this as well, because it helps you see things better. But I want you to watch a little bit of the music video. Can you see the clips? Can you see the artist singing? Justin Bieber just popped into my head for no reason. I don't know why that was. I was thinking about an old Meatloaf song. Anyway, you can see it. That's working memory. Okay, again, another example. So when we are consciously trying to process information, it's working memory. Final one, obvious one, is reading. When you're reading a novel, you can create pictures. You use your imagination to create pictures out of nothing. You see what the characters are like. When you're reading fiction novels, right? And that's what you do. Young kids, they don't have such a strong working memory, so that's why they have a lot of picture books. And as you get older, you can use your working memory to create that. So, a few examples there, a few basic examples. In order to really comprehend working memory, the next 2 or 3 days, every time you're trying to do something consciously, you're trying to think about something consciously, just be wary of it. And you'll realize that that you're using your working memory. All right, so the model now. So now we know what working memory is. how does the model explain this? So first of all, we have what's called the visuospatial sketchpad. Now, when you are looking at your house or where you live and you're trying to remember the route you take to school and how you get to school, that's the visuospatial sketchpad, holding and manipulating visual information. If you can see a picture of something in your mind, or when you can replay a movie or the music video you're thinking about, that's the visuospatial sketchpad. All right. The phonological loop, when you were listening to the song, when you get a song stuck in your head, that's a phonological loop. Or right now, if you imagined, you could probably hear your mother's voice or a friend's voice. You can actually hear what they sound like. You can hear them talking in your ear. That's the phonological loop doing that. Then we have a later addition to the model was the episodic buffer. And this is like a go-between between the long-term memory and our working short-term memory. So think of it like this. When you're listening to that song, when you were thinking of your favorite song, you didn't have all 2.5 minutes or 3.5 minutes of that song stuck in your head and every single image from the music video stuck in your head at that one time, right? But you had it there ready for the next scene almost. Or when you think about your journey to school, you didn't have the whole journey packed in at one time, but it was there ready to access. And that's what the episodic buffer does. It's kind of like a temporary store that connects our long-term memory, so we bring things into that store ready to use it when we need it. Now, all these three things, which refer to the visuospatial sketchpad and the phonological loop, referred to as slave systems. And they're slave systems because they're slaves to the central executive. The central executive is like the boss. Baddeley himself described it as like a little man in the head. Right? And so this is a central executive that allows to focus and control our attention on these different stimuli that we're trying to process. To give you an example, when you thought of the music video, you listen to the song, and then you can start, suddenly you made a conscious effort to think about the video. So you're just hearing music, and then you think about the video. That's the central executive doing it. Think about when you're in class, and teacher's talking, giving a lecture, and your mind starts to wander and drift, and then you realize, hang on, I need this for my test, and you try and block out what you were just thinking about, and you divert your attention back to what your teacher's saying, and you bring yourself back. Your central executive is what allows you to bring your concentration back into what you're focusing on. When you're reading a book, have you ever done that thing where you're reading a book and then your mind just wanders? Your eyes are still moving through the page, but you're not consciously processing it. You just wander, and then suddenly you switch back and start reading, and then you can't remember what you just read. Your central executive is what makes that switch to bring you back to the thing that you're reading at that time. Maybe you've turned off during this video, and then now you're thinking, right, oh, I need to remember this because I've got a test tomorrow. That's your central executive. So central executive is like a puppeteer pulling the strings and the information that is being processed by the other three systems. Okay, so that's the working memory model. All right, now some advice for your exam. Make sure you memorize the precise definition of working memory. All right, so I think to be able to just that one quote where you can, and we'll review it at the end of this video. I think that's important. One everyday example is enough. Even I don't think you need an everyday example. Like I gave you ones reading or finding your way to school, listening to a song. You don't need them in your exam answer, but if you must give an example, one is heaps. Diagram it. Remember the diagram, draw the diagram in your answer, but also write the summary in word form. So be able to draw the diagram and say the phonological loop processes visual information, the phonological loop processes auditory information, then we have the central executive which controls the flow of the information between the slave systems, and the episodic buffer acts like a store between a temporary store between the long-term and the short-term store. So important that you can do both in an exam answer. And for short answer questions for IB psychology students, make sure you can explain at least one study and how it supports the working memory model. And for essays, make a deal. Describe it, have some evidence, applications of the model, and limitations. In a later video that I'll post next week, I will go through the whole deal of working memory model. So you'll have at least 2 studies, applications, and we'll talk about limitations as well. So they will be coming up next week. Now, so just review the quote. Working memory is the small amount of information that can be held in the mind and used in the execution of cognitive tasks. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense now you know what working memory is. Here we have the model, central executive, the little man in the head that is the puppeteer between those 3 stores, and that's a go-between our long-term memory. All right, I really hope that was helpful. I used to not teach working memory because I got put off it. I think the explanation in the textbook I had was maybe just a bit too abstract, and I thought it was too confusing, too many words. These words are pretty complex, but once you get it, it's very, very simple. And also, if you have a choice to write about which model, this one's a really good one to write about because most students will go with the multi-store model. So if you can write about the working memory model correctly and accurately, I think it actually allows you to write a better answer. Because it's also it's a bit more complex. Multi-store model is pretty easy. Also, working memory is so important in everyday life, and so learning about this concept I think is essential in any introduction to IB psychology or any introduction to psychology course. So yeah, I really hope you stick with it. Work hard to comprehend it, and like everything in psychology, try and make connections and try and see it in the world around you, and you're going to help. It's going to help you understand it a lot better. All right, all the links for everything we have, blog, Facebook group, store, blah, 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 blah. Everything is in the comments here. I hope that was helpful. So thanks, and good luck with your studies.